Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us. Yeah, please go ahead. My name is PK Gulati, and I am moderating this session on going global. In fact, it's probably, a bit taken from what the last session was, which was more focused on the US and India. This is more going global, and I have a very illustrious panel with me who probably have different definitions of going global and the way they see being, how to do business globally, how to work globally, and what places to use to actually go global. So I'll start with the introducing the panelists, and I'll let them introduce themselves. So I have on my extreme left Takeshi Ebihara, who is the managing partner of Rebright Ventures. Takeshi, would you like to tell the audience about yourself?
Hi, Ebihara from Rewrite Partners. I'm leading the seed stage venture capital from Japan. So our fund is backed by the Japanese large corporation, mostly based on the tech industry. And our allocation used to be purely targeted into the Southeast Asia until the last year. But these 12 months, we are quite active in India. We've made 5 investments already. We do the seed stage from the day 1 to the Series A, and we do tech only. We don't do the hardware. We don't do the B2B so much. We are very good at the software, internet, media, e-commerce, game, mobile app, much more, consumer-facing service.
Thank you, Takeshi. Next to Takeshi is Shaukat Shamim, who's a serial entrepreneur, has been a VC also in between. We need to ask him why he moved back to being an entrepreneur. Shaukat?
Hi, I'm Shaukat. I'm an entrepreneur based in Silicon Valley, Palo Alto. I have a very young company, about a year old, and I've done a few companies in the past. Like he was saying, I was silly enough to be a VC for a while. Oh, I didn't realize what I was doing. And all my
called quite a few people silly just now, but that's we'll go to
no,
that.
I wasn't. They weren't. And all my companies, I've done 6 companies so far, but all my companies had almost all of them had a global presence from very early on.
I have Majid Al-Suwaidi. Majid is the managing director of Dubai Internet City, which I personally know. I'm based there for the last 15 odd years. Is probably one of the most effective and most largest clusters of its kind, where people go global from.
Yes, thank you for having me here today, PK. And yes, today we are one of the largest free zone kind of setups available in the Middle East, if not the biggest. We host around 1,500 plus companies in our free zone. We have so many different factors to help people set up business in the Middle East, and out of the Middle East, of course, they start expanding globally. We've seen that across so many different companies coming either from the Far East or coming from Europe. They use Dubai as basically a landing space, and then it's the space that they use to go global. So either serving people in different parts of the world due to the great connectivity that we have out of Dubai, as well as the very open and positive environment for doing business in Dubai.
And last but not the least, Miten Mehta, who I've known through various reincarnations, and now I know that he's doing a very international footprint accelerator, Spintaxel.
Thank you. Hi, good afternoon. I'm Miten Mehta. I'm co-founder and advisor of Spinta Global Accelerator. We are one of the first global accelerator who have presence headquartered out of Silicon Valley, presence in Washington, D.C., in East Coast. I heard somewhere in the last panel, everybody was looking between East and West Coast. With Spinta, you don't have to make that choice. We are also in Singapore, by the way, and that was another question about somebody asking whether we should be in Singapore or Valley. I'll still go with Valley. And we also have presence in Bangkok, just in case you don't have enough partying. We also have presence in Bangalore and Mumbai. And I happen to sit on board as a non-executive director of FTIL, now called 63 Moons, and a few other companies here in India. Thanks.
Thanks, Peter. Now, if you look at the illustrious panel I have, they have a very different definition of global, as you would say. And I'm sure there are a million types of questions that you have, so we will probably try to answer or probably try to reach some kind of an understanding on where. Let me start with Ebihara, who, you come from Japan. There hasn't been a traditional Japan-India investment link. It's not been the case. I see, this to be a kind of a maybe start of many or start one of the first early stage investment opportunities that I see coming from Japan.
So obviously the manufacturing industry is very well known from Japan and India, including the Suzuki, Toyota, etc. Especially the Suzuki is, to my knowledge, one of the most successful company in this country. But in terms of the tech, especially for the software, they're almost, there is no any, presence in this country. And that's the exact reason why I'm here now. Maybe the SoftBank as well. So the, for example, we started our activity in Indonesia 5 years ago. At that time, I was the only one investor because we are a seed-stage investor. Seed-stage venture capital is always the early mover, relatively. And our LP is like to explore some, the local market through our investment activity as an LP investor for us. And then 2 years later, it was around the 2012 and 2013, they suddenly rushed into the Indonesia, including every single, private, unlisted startups into the very large, public corporation from the Rakuten, Yahoo, etc. They rush into that country. I'm very positive feeling about this kind of thing is going to happen in this country very soon. That's why we are here.
And I go to the extreme of like when you've been here, you obviously know this part of it well. What is it that accelerators and incubators haven't done before? Like we know everything from the Y Combinator extreme to Techstars, and I believe city of Bangalore has 20 odd incubators and accelerators. Why another one?
Great question, PK. This leads to Spinta, and I owe you a drink later on. But basically, think of a scenario like this. You are an entrepreneur sitting in Bangalore, and you're thinking of going out and building a product. And if you truly call this new IP innovation economy as a seamless one integrated economy, then it should work very much like your and my iPhone, right? Doesn't matter really where the manufacturing gets done, where the design gets done. So what Spinta offers, or accelerators like Spinta, which are global, offers you, is that you get your product designed in Singapore, which is one of the best designing centers in the world. You could actually get your product developed or coded in Pune or Bangalore. You could have fundraising done in New York or Silicon Valley, and you could actually go out and launch in London. Show me one other accelerator other than Spinta. There could be a few others. But I think this is where truly the next generation of accelerators are moving towards, and that's where Spinta is. I believe truly going global is really being close to where your customers are. So if that means you should be in Rajkot in India, so be it. And the rest of the ecosystem should follow you rather than you following the ecosystem. I still feel going where the ecosystem is so much 90s and 2000 when I was in US, spent 20 years there trying to chase people. I feel in the new economy, truly, if you're saying it is frictionless, if we truly believe this is innovation and idea economy, I think the ecosystem should chase you wherever you are, and you should be where your customers are.
So are you trying to say that a company which is incubated in any one of the accelerators is incubated everywhere?
Pretty much.
Or how does that happen?
So
I'm sure Anil Advani or somebody would actually have an issue with that.
Well, I can give yes.
Wrong number. Maybe, a cheaper lawyer.
Yeah.
Maybe a cheaper lawyer.
So really, I'm not going into the nitty-gritties of what the previous panel went into, and I think they made some very good comments, and you should really take a look at.
Like what I want to know, what is the practical sense of
Right. So I think the idea is here that really, how do you go out and develop your MVP, whether it is design, whether it is development, and whether it is going out and doing prototype and beta testing. And the goal would be to go out and leverage the best of all worlds, right? Not just both the worlds, best of all worlds. And if that means that you can get design done cheaply thanks to the EDA agency in Singapore, if you can go out and get development done cheaply and with the quality in Pune or in Bangalore, and if you're able to go out and pivot or do your better rollout, for instance, either in India where the customer acquisition costs are still lower, or anywhere in the world, then you should have an accelerator platform or a support system that allows you to go out and do that rather than you choosing the other way around.
Majid, and speaking from my personal biased opinion of being based in Dubai Internet City, it has been an exceptional place for us personally to actually base ourselves, especially very early, like 10, 15 years ago, when a lot of other countries or other places hadn't got their act together as much. It's been a fulfilling journey for Dubai. What do you think? Do you think there is a place for, say, Indian startups to use, say, Dubai as a place to grow from?
Well, definitely, I think today the startup scene, although is still in the growth phase and still didn't reach the same maturity levels different places around the world, but we believe that the location, number one, and the tolerance to different people and to different nationalities within this ecosystem, this small space, which has huge potential, which has huge growth opportunities, which is in fact not only pushed from a single direction, it's pushed from all directions. So the positive attitude is coming from across the board, which is a helpful aspect. Another important thing is that the government and the whole thing, the whole system, how it works, is very positive. So we take the best and we harness the best, and then we try to develop our system based on what people got to. And then actually move forward as we start getting more complicated cases. So we are very open to the opportunities that are there. So we are not stuck in the past. We are very much in the future. We believe that whatever any place or any city has done, will be more than happy to take where they stopped, develop it even further, make it even better. And on top of that, I think the city in itself is a very cosmopolitan city that has changed drastically in the past. And definitely, I think you would know better than me in this case, but I think the Indian community there has grown quite a lot, even from the different aspects, different sectors. So today, development and the creation of companies and the right atmosphere and the global outreach out of the city has shown that it's very successful. So personally, I think it's an opportunity. I think people tapping into Dubai gives them certain credibility for the region. And when we talk about the region, we talk about the whole region that we are, so the whole of the Middle East and North Africa and Africa in general, as well as the Eastern European part too. So we've got great connectivity. So people who travel a lot will have that opportunity served to them. So Dubai International Airport today is the largest international airport. So with the number of flights, so people traveling basically with the same concept that Mitten has, so they wouldn't have a problem in locating in Dubai because he can fly to San Francisco, DC, New York, or fly to Singapore, Bangkok, or to fly to Bangalore or any other place that is there from a single location. So
I can see quite a few people who flew Emirates.
So
I wouldn't ask them to put their hands up, but yes.
So the infrastructure today is a helpful aspect. We pride ourselves to a very strong infrastructure, and technology is in the heart of what we do. And today, one example of that is that the whole government is being transferred from the normal legacy government to a mobile government. And when you have a government that's thinking that way, that gives you the opportunity to actually innovate and develop, and innovation is now part of what we do every day.
So, Shaukat, now come to somebody who's more of an entrepreneur who's gone global. You've gone global with some of your companies before, and then I understand that your company is effectively launched in Silicon Valley, and you're thinking of launching in India very quickly, without even launching in, say, the rest of the United States. What is the thought behind this, definition of global?
So I think that the definition of going global has changed dramatically. So in the early days, people used to think having a back office or cost optimization and how you run your organization internally more efficiently, right? So we looked at engineering. That's how this region was first developed. So all the infrastructure and all those things that played a huge role in it, right? I've done that, and you then compete with the rest of the world on those things, the infrastructure and talent and all those things. But I think in the last few years, that's still there. I mean, people still do, cost centers and stuff. But the main reason people go different places is for global markets. And now it has, there is a equalization that is happening. Like, you are not afraid to enter a market that has high potential, but it has high risk too, but high potential, and you basically optimize it. Like, should I stay back and take the risk that somebody else is going to take it, or you want to go there first, right? So with that kind of thinking, a lot of companies, especially in Silicon Valley, they take this kind of step that I'm taking now, which is we have launched in US. We got tremendous traction in growing in regions that we are launched. And then we looked at basically why are the growth regions, and should we go there first or later, right? And I chose to do it now than later. I'm not gonna take that risk of somebody else, taking a big market that is important for us. So that those risks, then you play for those risks. And people will agree with you and people will not, and you just optimize that. But global markets are very, very important right now. The growth coming from India and China and in US, if you look at just the pure growth opportunities, in some sense they are like, you can justify to be in all of those things. And you also have to worry about not leaving a market alone, right? You just can't afford it.
So for clarity for the entrepreneurs in here, are you trying to suggest that they should cherry pick and go for the cherries first?
I am. It depends on what your business is, though, right? We are in a consumer company, so that matters a lot, right? If you are in a very unique kind of business that is tailored for US market and stuff like that, and you don't understand the differences in going in a different region, then that's the wrong thing to do, right? But if you are playing like Uber, so we share a common investor, the first investor in Uber, and he said, look, the reason Uber is very successful is because in 163 cities, you can open up a phone and press a button and a taxi shows up. If it were 2, it wouldn't be that successful, right? So that's important. When it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter in US, a black cab is actually kind of black, and here we ordered a black cab. It's actually was slightly bigger car, but it doesn't matter, right? But it's very important, that thing. 163 cities, you press a button, things happen.
Abhihara, you have obviously got into India, and I understand you made a series of investments here. You've also done other investments in the Southeast Asia region that you spoke about earlier. What's your experience of, do you see the startups and the Southeast Asian startups in general, do they have the global mindset, or they're busy in their own globe?
Really depends. As a Asia multinational, investment arm, internally our team, we always discuss this issue. And this issue is really depends on the what sector your business is doing. It's a very important one. And also the what country are you living is also important one. For example, like Dubai, Singapore, Israel, those kind of relatively smaller countries, they have to go out. There is no choice, right? But the let's say, by the way, India is the third largest country in terms of their fundraising total after the US, China. So, by the way, and the country like India, do they necessarily have to go outside to grab the outside market is a very tough issue. For me, as personally, I'm very skeptical from the day one. Go to the global strategy is a very risky, And also
And you're still doing it?
Hmm?
It's very risky and you're still
yes,
doing it?
and yeah, but the you know, as I told that it really depends on the what sector you're doing. For example, e-commerce is very hard, almost impossible to grab the you know the global market from the day one at least. And media business is also media and content business is very localized business. So it is very hard. Even the you know very big you know giant from the U.S. It's very hard to enter the other countries because it's very you know culturalized you know market the business itself. But the let's say the SaaS software product, pure software product. Is a common for this, let's say CRM or the SaaS kind of things. They have to be the global from the day one. That's our thoughts. So really depends. It's very dangerous to discuss for the very common, you know, as a very common topic. That's our thoughts.
So, Miten, what kind of investments or you know kind of incubation companies have you looked at? Like, I would be very curious to see kind of a model or a company which actually has this kind of a global mindset from the beginning and grows in, you know, 5 or 6 different places.
Sure. So one example I can give you is Peerbud, which is in the education space. The idea actually came out of a couple of students in southern LA, and they came and talked to us, and we found that for them, the best place for them to go out and pivot would be in India. And also, we got the product designed in Singapore, incidentally at SMU. And then we went out, built the product out of our Nagpur Development Center in Pune. We wanted to go mobile first because of the target audience, which were students. And the idea was to go out and roll this out, test market this in India first. So we launched it in Pune. And now, I think in January next year, we are going out and launching this in southern LA, for instance. And we are finding this increasingly more and more with companies where they are saying, though my products and services might be hyperlocal, my customers are really everywhere, and I want to kind of go out and cherry pick best markets where I can go out and develop, whether I can design, whether I can pivot, whether I can do prototyping, whether I can morph and scale and do a full-fledged rollout. There's another interesting company that came out of New York, a Colombian professor. She's an American and never been to India, actually. And I think her first visit to India was for a pilgrimage. And she came up with this concept called Dharti Ma. Dharti Ma means Mother Earth. And the idea was to go out and actually create a very hyperlocal application with an open marketplace. Out of 14 largest pilgrimages done across the world, I think about 10 of them are in India. And for example, Kumbh Mela is one of the largest. And she figured out that the hyperlocal economy around Kumbh Mela during that entire month is close to about $1 billion, similar to what a London Olympics is. And she found that this economy is highly unorganized, unstructured, as you can imagine, because these are hyperlocal merchants, essentially. So she came up with this app, which is based on and I won't go into a lot of details, but now this is a classic example of what Abhi Barasi was saying. So here's a professor who's in New York. She's an Australian, living in New York, coming to India, spotting an opportunity, wanting to go out and build an app where her customers are going to be, working with us, got her funding raised in New York, and through Spinta Ventures, which is based out of Silicon Valley, but a large part of our investors in Spinta Ventures came through New York. So that's another example of how global market trends are being done. And the third example I'll give you is basically I spoke last month at a largest youth conference in Gurgaon called ISAC. And going global, as I think somebody said, is a very good perspective. It depends on which side of the pond you are. So ISAC International Congress being held in Gurgaon for the first time in India had 1,900 participants, out of which only 100 were Indian. And the top 10 teams, entrepreneur team, which pitched, 9 out of them were global. And out of the 9, about 5 of them had India as a starting marketplace. The first winner was 2 Colombian girls who met in a Mumbai local train through ISAC. She heard the other person, her other co-founder, talking in Spanish, and she went to her and said, "Are you from?" And then they hooked up and they said, "We share the same passion." And she says, "Why you are here?" And she says, I love traveling. They came up with a concept which is called Wanderluster, which is a startup that we are funding now. Wanderluster is a startup started by 2 Colombians who have business visa, coming here in India, out of Mumbai, and they're going to go out and target the Indian market, but of course the application is global because they find Wanderlusters, and I won't go into again the application, but very interesting app. It's a social crowdsourced content from travelers who are backpackers, essentially. Very interesting, built on the top of the map. But there are a lot of these kind of examples where global could mean where your customers are, essentially.
Majid, again, going back to the history of Dubai Internet City and what you've seen, it is actually the base for some of the largest global companies and some of the most innovative startups. What do you see is the trend of companies coming in and looking at in terms of going global? Are they looking at it only from a base perspective? Are they looking at it from just a tax saving perspective? Or are they looking for a talent, building a base which can actually look after? What's the trend that you see?
Well, there is definitely we look at all of these points. So it's for tax we are very nice and very good. So we are very good in that angle. So that's number one. Number two, I think the mindset is the right thing. So when you've got everyone positive and everyone is geared towards innovation and they want something new, then we basically get the mindset that is available in Silicon Valley. So everyone is positive about it, everyone wants to do it, everyone wants to build it. Then we are starting to get that too. Global, I think, like we said, I think that the environment is ready for people to take part. And I think you rightly mentioned today, Dubai, Singapore are very small cities that you cannot only depend on your current population, although our current population has drastically grown in the past few years. Nevertheless, it's still small compared to the huge cities that are around us. So what can we do more? And I think this is where we play a role. And we build these ties. So we are very fortunate that we have a strong logistical center available in Dubai. And this in itself has helped us a lot in actually selling what we have. So when you have a strong logistics center, so you can travel anywhere from where you are. So that means that you can open more markets quicker and be more efficient in actually doing this task. So you can open markets in the whole of the GCC, the whole of Northern Africa, and still not waste time traveling. So it's a straightforward matter. So that helps a lot in companies growing. So going global is the main thing that we sell in the UAE, and that's talking about what Dubai Internet City is and the trends that we see also. Just to get to the same point, is that we see that companies actually have changed. The mindsets have shifted. Earlier, people were trying to sell. Now people are trying to develop. So there is a major shift in that. Now, a major shift not only on a smaller level with smaller companies. In fact, a major shift is happening even with our global partners. So our IBM, Microsoft, and all the other big multinationals that are there today, they have actually shifted from only focusing on trying to sell you products off the shelf and actually bringing more development, more engineers, more people on the ground. And this is actually building a very strong platform that people should take advantage of. So when you come and locate, for instance, in Dubai Internet City, your neighbor is a person that does the same job that you are doing, maybe in a different sector within ICT, but most probably you will find synergies that you could harness and build on top, so that you can actually maybe merge, maybe grow, maybe just learn something from your next door neighbor. And this is the reason why our clusters today have been very successful. Over the last few years, we've seen huge growth in the number of companies. Earlier, we've seen 30% growth at the initial phases, and now we've seen similar growth when it comes to seeing what is available on the ground. So people are taking advantage of, yes, my next door neighbor is doing X, I'm doing Y, why not actually have the opportunity to develop. And this is the main advantage of being in a cluster community. In addition to that, I think it's very important to mention that when we talk about ICT, we're talking about the whole ecosystem. So we're talking about ICT, we're talking about universities, we're talking about media companies, we're talking about all of the other things. So we're taking basically the whole value chain. and then we are putting it all close by so that people take advantage. So if you want to develop, you need a design. We have companies that are on the next block around. If you need companies that are in education for talent, we are getting now huge universities setting up. And interestingly, I think we have quite a number of big Indian universities are also setting up
Right.
in our campuses. Talking about energy, we have huge energy companies setting up, and definitely, for us, energy is very important. The fact of oil and other renewable energy, and as well as the fact that now even new sectors are opening up, and this is also an opportunity for people to tap into. So when we talk about areas that renewable energy is something that we are focusing on nowadays, opportunities are huge because the market is still young. The market has huge potential for people to come and tap into it. And the consumer market is huge today. Although we are a small city or a small country in general, the opportunities are huge because people take the examples. This is a very big test bed, for instance, and we'd like people to take advantage of this test bed.
I'll open at this point for questions. We can take a few questions if somebody has a question to ask.